Hey everybody, Dr. Derek Gatta, one of the co-founders here at RiseWell. Excited to have you today, where we have our guest, Dr. Molly Hayes, talking all about children's dental health in honor of February being Children's Dental Health Month. So Dr. Molly, I'm going to go ahead and invite you on here. Let me do a quick invitation. Hey, Dr. Molly, do we have you?
Yeah, hold on one second.
All right. Hey,
Hello,
good
how are
afternoon. Happy to have
you?
you today.
Yes, thanks for having me, Derek.
Hey, my pleasure. We're excited to have you here today, and just kind of to give the audience members a little bit more background about you. I just want to kind of read your bio here real quick. So, Dr. Molly Hayes is a functional dentist and graduate from Creighton University School of Dentistry in 2013. She practices general family dentistry in the Chicagoland area until she moved back to Omaha and completely shifted her focus to airway-related dysfunction in 2021. She took courses through Healthy Start and the Breathe Institute to further her knowledge on sleep disordered breathing and tongue ties. She is now stepping away from seeing patients one on one to educate parents around the globe. And of course, she's a mother to 5 amazing kids. Did I get it all?
Yeah, I think that's it.
Perfect, perfect. Well, again, we're excited to have you and just kind of, talk to our people about your journey to dentistry and kind of where you are at this stage of your practice.
Sure. Well, it's been so long. I can't tell you exactly what led me to dentistry, but I can tell you what almost led me away from dentistry completely. And it was just, just complete burnout from feeling like, it was just drill, fill, and bill on every tooth, day in and day out. And I, I think I wanted to get into dentistry because I had a great dentist who was more like an oral physician. He was a physician of the oral cavity, and he was awesome, and that's what I wanted to do. And then when I got into dentistry, I found that that was not the reality. People just kind of want to fix the problem, get in and get out. And it wasn't until about 2020 that everything was on the table for me. It was either I was going to leave dentistry completely or I was going to shift my focus to more whole health dentistry. And I'm so glad that I didn't walk away completely, that I turned more to functional whole body dentistry, specifically focusing on airway health in children.
That's so great, and thank you for sharing. I know it takes a lot of courage to take those steps and transitions in life.
Yeah.
And looking back at my own journey, I think mentorship plays a key role too. I mean, I was on the fence
Yes.
about different types of healthcare professions as a youngster, and my family dentist really helped sway me towards dentistry. And then once you get
Okay.
into the system, the dental school and academia, I know they're trying to
Hmm.
produce competent conservative dentists, but some of the
Yes.
knowledge is slow moving through academia and the dental universities, and really had some good mentors when I was able to take over this current practice
That's
where I'm in
great.
and have the opportunity to just have a little bit more freedom and flexibility on how you want to practice.
Yeah, yeah, you nailed it. Dental school is 4 very long but very short years, and so it's just, it's kind of on us to decide what path that we want to take after we graduate. And you took a great path, and I'm very pleased with the path I took as well.
Well, absolutely. Well, we're excited you're still involved in dentistry. And again, tell us about some dental health tips for pregnant women and children, and just what kind of advice you have for that phase of life for females.
Oh, sure. I've had 5 babies, and I don't really remember any provider really talking to me about the importance of my oral health. Maybe it's because I'm a dentist and they just figured they could skip over that part. But the conversation needs to be had with pregnant women that you're at an increased risk for what's called pregnancy gingivitis. The hormones estrogen and progesterone are going to cause an over exaggerated response to plaque on your teeth. So if you notice those red bleeding gums during pregnancy, or even the feeling that your teeth might be a little bit wiggly, that's from a hormone called relaxin. You need to make dental care, your home care, and seeing a dentist for regular cleanings a priority. Not just for your health, but for your baby's health as well. We know that women with periodontal disease are at an increased risk for going into preterm labor, and we don't want that. We want a healthy mom and a healthy baby. So taking care of your gums, taking care of your teeth with an electric toothbrush, with a great hydroxyapatite toothpaste like RiseWell, and flossing daily is a must.
You
And
bring up a lot of good tips. You bring up a lot of good tips, and so I have a restorative practice here in South Florida, and I don't specialize in kids, but we do get pregnant women, and again,
Hmm.
just giving them these same tips, and a lot of times they're kind of shocked to hear about it because, oh, what's a
Hmm.
dentist going to tell me about pregnancy? And well,
Right.
the oral health is super important, and I kind of just, not that I'm an expert on pregnancy or kids, but in terms of oral health and how it can also help, a healthy mother, healthy pregnancy, healthy oral condition is all super important and related here. And just giving them advice on nutrition and, as you mentioned, pregnancy gingivitis, and just kind of what to be uh, prepared and what to expect and what's considered normal. Because sometimes if it's your first child, you may not understand what's happening and is this normal, and what they're kind of prepared for.
Sure. Yeah, so bleeding gums are never normal, but we're going to say they're more common during pregnancy. So a lot of women will want to back off of flossing or think that they're brushing too hard. You just need to get to the dentist. You need to get your teeth cleaned, get the plaque and the tartar, the buildup cleaned off of your teeth. And then at home, you need to be very diligent, of course. You might just see bleeding no matter how hard you're trying. Just keep up with a really good routine at home. And then as far as nutrition goes, I'm so glad you brought that up. It's so important. We think about, the nutrition, for our baby, but we need to be supporting ourselves during pregnancy too, because we're growing that baby and our body is prioritizing the growth and health of the baby. And so it's going to borrow, nutrients and minerals from the mother. And if she's depleted, that's going to start showing up in her teeth. So a lot of women will come to the dentist right after they've had their baby. They haven't had x-rays, of course, in 9 months. They get these x-rays and we see cavities everywhere. Why is that? Well, we're like I said, we're growing that baby and your body is going to literally borrow from your body to make sure your baby is healthy. And this happens during breastfeeding too. So we are zapping those minerals out of the teeth, unfortunately, and that's leaving women with a lot of cavities right after they have a baby.
Did you have any preparation or advanced notice or kind of coaches during your first pregnancy?
Oh no,
Okay.
not at all. No, and I remember the symptoms. I remember the bleeding gums, but it wasn't until I switched my focus, and that was during my fourth pregnancy that I had to really pay attention, to my nutrition. Like snacking all day. That's something I was guilty of with every single pregnancy, snacking on carbohydrates, and that can really do a number on your teeth. I'm not saying don't snack. I think women's bodies, we need to be constantly, eating if that makes us feel better when we're pregnant, but we just need to be very mindful of what we're choosing for those snacks when we're grazing, prioritizing vitamins D, E, and K, those fat soluble vitamins. Those are the nutrients that your teeth really craves.
I'm a grazer. I'm guilty of it.
Same.
How many how, how,
Absolutely.
how many cavities did you get during pregnancy?
Not only one.
Oh, okay. Wow. All right.
Only one.
All right.
Yeah, I was
That's not
really proud
bad.
of myself. Yeah,
That's not
and
bad.
my friend fixed it, and he's like, "Ooh, we're getting deep." I was like, "I think that's time to stop. Wrap this one up, and
All
let it
right. All right.
remineralize." Um, yeah, and I'm very, very lucky, but I'm also very, aware of the importance of flossing and brushing. And I think a lot of women just are, especially with first baby. I remember that the lack of sleep and just that shift from no babies to a baby, it just like knocks you off your feet. And some women just get busy, and there are still days now. I have a almost 6 month old who just started sleeping better. Sometimes I don't brush my teeth until like noon, and that's really hard for me to admit to all these people that I'm not perfect. But there's so many things happening during pregnancy and new motherhood. We have, the breastfeeding, the nutrients to keep up with, the lack of sleep. We're just maybe saying, oh, it's okay if I just skip brushing or flossing just this once. It's just a lot going on.
Well, I give you a lot of credit. Again, I know there's got to be so much pressure to be perfect with, career and a mother of five children. So I think our audience really appreciates your candor and honesty that, things slip, perfect doesn't exist. And, we're all trying to do our best
Absolutely.
out there.
Yeah, no one's ever accused me of being perfect. I'm human and just figuring it out. And I think that's the great thing about functional dentistry is it's just very relatable, to be honest. There's just so many things that interplay to produce either oral health or oral dysfunction.
So you mentioned a good term there, and just so our audience kind of really understands that, what functional dentistry, I know, what does that mean to you, and kind of how do you use it? Because I know there's sometimes ambiguity on some of these different types of dental terms that are out there.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's really like nailed the definition yet, but for me, functional dentistry is how does the mouth function in relation to the rest of the body? It's to me, it's not holistic and it's not, natural healthcare. It's just how does the mouth interplay with the body? And I mean, there's no trap door back there, is there? There's no like compartmentalizing here. The mouth is the major gateway to the rest of the body. It's how we
Absolutely.
eat and breathe. It affects our sleep. And so we talk a lot about root cause in functional dentistry, just figuring out why are we getting cavities? Why are we getting gum disease? Why are we not sleeping well? Instead of just saying, you have cavities, here's a filling and some fluoride. You have gum disease, we'll clean you up and send you on your way. And you're not sleeping well, here's a CPAP. It goes a little bit further. And I think people are feeling better and they're living overall healthier lives when they find functional dentistry.
I love that. Yeah, I feel like so much of our profession in the past has just been kind of reactionary. Okay, here's a disease,
Yes,
here's a hole, we
yes,
fill it, prescribe this, fill that, crown that.
exactly.
So it's nice to be kind of preventative, and I mean
I
that's the
love
best kind of
that.
that's the best kind of healthcare out there. I mean, why let these conditions affect you in the first place if we can prevent them? And I'm also curious, what's your advice to parents and folks out there for really getting their kids excited about oral hygiene? What's your strategy?
Sure. I think like 10,000-foot view is don't sweat it. I think a lot of parents think they need to put a lot of pressure on themselves to start to brush perfectly. And, start early. Absolutely. You don't need, your baby doesn't need teeth to start brushing. You can take like a warm, wet washcloth to your baby's gums after they nurse or have a bottle. You're just going to get them used to you cleaning their mouth every single day. So you can start as early as a few months. And then as your baby gets teeth, you're going to want to switch over to maybe something like a finger brush. This finger brush will protect your finger from any chomping that goes on. And it's just a very gentle way to clean those first teeth. And as they grow into toddlerhood, of course, it's going to get harder. Everything with a toddler is harder. I think the more that parents engage in like a power struggle, the harder it's going to be. So you want to just make it fun, lighthearted. Involve your toddlers. They get to hold a toothbrush and you get to take turns. You can play a song, like there's toothbrushing songs on YouTube. Teach them, okay, when the song is over, that's when we're done brushing, if it's a 2-minute song. Obviously, get them a great toothpaste like RiseWell that is fun, cake batter. What child doesn't want to brush with cake batter?
Or adult?
I think really guilty. I used my kids this morning. It's awesome. Yeah, I think a lot of parents are putting too much pressure on themselves. Like, more oral hygiene is very, very important. Don't get me wrong. But what is more important is making sure that your kids are, not snacking on things like super sticky crackers and pretzels, sticky candies, things like that. So oral hygiene, very important. Please don't skip it. But like, take the pressure off yourself a little bit. Make it fun and enjoyable. If your toddler's not warming up to it right away, just baby steps.
I love the idea of music. I don't have kids, but I have 5 nephews, and a couple of the younger ones like this song about a small shark. Pretty popular
Yes.
song out there past couple of years. Also, in terms of nutrition, I think it's so poignant when you speak about the type of snacks. I mean, it doesn't have to be a quote unquote sugary food to be decay causing. I think there's a common misconception that,
Exactly.
oh, I'm eating crackers. There's no sugar, right? I mean, no, I think
Right.
it's really important that people realize that everything you eat pretty much reduces to 3 elemental molecules. There's fats, proteins, and carbohydrates. And it doesn't have to be quote unquote sugary dessert food. Things like crackers and pastas at the elemental level, they break down into sugars. And so it's important to keep
Yes.
those off the teeth and keep that debris free from your teeth as well.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, I don't know how to prove this, but I want to say even more than like Halloween candy, it's the crackers. They stick to the grooves of the teeth like you
Yeah.
wouldn't believe. I mean, you've probably seen it when people come in and they just had a snack and you have to like physically pick the stickiness of the cracker out of the grooves of the teeth. So crackers, even the quote unquote healthy crackers. I get asked this question a lot from my wonderful sourdough bread maker followers, they want to know if their sourdough crackers are still fine. And it's just all about texture. We can have these quote unquote healthier foods and choices, but the teeth, as you know, it's all about texture. Gummy candies, sticky crackers and pretzels and popcorn, they adhere to the tooth and they start to break down the teeth of these little kids just almost upon contact, it seems.
Yeah, we got to find some way to make some crackers out of riced cauliflower or something a little
Yes,
safer.
let's get on that. Yeah.
Tell me, I know another one of your passions is airway, and kind of talk to us about how you help children and families with, the posture of the head and airway and things you look for, and how to help people out.
Sure. Well, I'll start with saying that sleep and breathing disorders in children is extremely common. 9 out of 10 children exhibit at least one symptom of what's called sleep disordered breathing. And I don't know about you, but I had never heard that term before in dental school. I heard it a few years ago, and it was brand new to me. So once I heard about it, I started reading more about it, and 1,000 light bulbs went off in my head. I said, that's my son. He has sleep disordered breathing. And so when you find out that your child has something that you can potentially fix, you go down that rabbit hole and you don't come back out until you know everything about it. So, our jaws, our faces have changed over the last, like thousands of years. Our jaws are shrinking as the human race, thanks to our diet and our lifestyle. And in children, this is showing up as mouth breathing, poor oral posture, like their tongue kind of hanging down into the floor of their mouth instead of being up at the top of the mouth where it belongs. Sleep disordered breathing is wrecking our kids' health. They're tossing and turning in their sleep. They're not getting good restorative sleep, and they're waking up and they're just feeling horrible. So I kind of went off on a tangent there. You can bring me back in. But yeah, it's airway and sleep disorders are very prevalent, and there's lots of signs and symptoms to look out for in your own kid. Do you want me to talk about those?
I mean, you bring up a lot of good points, but I mean, one by one, I think it's so interesting to look at just the economic impact of lost school days, sickness, poor health, maybe
Such a good point.
cognitive impairment, just not getting
Yeah.
good sleep, and really helping parents recognize some of these symptoms, and maybe a lot of folks didn't maybe recognize, or maybe myself when I was younger, that you're really designed to be breathing through your nose. When you're breathing through your
Yeah.
nose, your mouth is closed, the tongue is up in the palate and vault of the maxilla there. That pressure really helps to expand the arch and create a nice development for the teeth here. If you're breathing through your mouth, there's no pressure up in the vault. The tongue is down. You're not warming the air properly, and you're
Right.
also drying your mouth out. The saliva has a
Hmm.
lot of protective factors against
Yes.
cavities, and so when you're breathing through your mouth, you dry your mouth out, and you lose all those protective factors that the saliva offers.
Yeah. Oh, you just nailed it. Checked every box. It's really devastating, mouth breathing. I don't think people realize. I remember as a kid, mouth breather was an insult used on the playground. And now as a mom and an airway focused dentist, I really realize it's absolutely devastating what it's doing to kids. Kids who are having a hard time focusing in school, or they're labeled ADHD very quickly and put on medications. Sometimes I wonder, is it more of a sleep disorder? Maybe.
That's a great point. What any additional tips that parents can take to, once they recognize a problem, what they do, what questions to maybe talk to their dentist about it? Because not all this is kind of relatively new in the grand scheme of things to the dental world as
Yeah.
well. We're kind of thrust on the front lines of this condition, despite the fact that we really don't get much education on it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I certainly hope that dental schools are starting to shift and bring this into their curriculum. But for parents who wonder, does my child have any of these signs and symptoms? I like to talk about the daytime symptoms versus the nighttime symptoms. So daytime might be a little bit easier to recognize in your children. If they're watching TV or reading a book or coloring or playing, whatever they're doing, and their mouth is just hanging wide open, that might be a sign that they have a hard time with oral posture. Maybe their tongue is restricted and it has a hard time lifting to the palate. At nighttime, you can just go peek on your kids, see if you see any of these things. Again, mouth wide open, even during sleep, is not normal or healthy. If your child is snoring, that is like a huge red flag. Please go see a specialist right away. And I'll talk about that at the end. Don't let me forget, Derek, who you should go see.
You
If
go.
your child is like tossing and turning to the point where they're like tangled in their sheets, or they've changed positions to put their head at the other end of the bed, or they're hanging off the bed, if they have very loud, audible breathing in their sleep, these are all signs that your child might have sleep disordered breathing, and you need to find the root cause. And there are actually quite a few providers who can help with this. So I get a lot of messages from people who say, I can't find a dentist like you, maybe like a Healthy Start dentist. Like I'm trained through Healthy Start. There's also something called MyoBrace. If you can't find a dentist who has taken either of those trainings, there are myofunctional therapists popping up more now, which is wonderful. And they are, I like to call myofunctional therapists kind of like physical therapists for the face and the mouth.
Okay.
They help to strengthen and tone the muscles, you know, specifically the tongue, but also the surrounding muscles. And these myologists, they are just miracle workers. They typically start working with children age 4 and up to help strengthen and tone the tongue and to really get to the root cause of why they're mouth breathing and why they have sleep disordered breathing. And before that, we can work with occupational therapists and feeding therapists, pediatric dentists. You know, some have more, you know, experience with this than others, but there's lots of different people that can help, and I'm always willing to help if you want to reach out to me, if you're just not sure in your area who can help you.
Yeah, and again, you bring up a lot of good points, and it's not just your quality of sleep and affecting sleep in general, but also speech. And if you have a tongue tie, it could be affecting sleep and your child's ability to develop just coherent speech. So it affects a lot of different interdisciplinary factors here.
It does, and they really don't grow out of it. You know, I've been in the mom in the pediatrician's office who is told he'll grow out of it, and that's not true. We hope that we could just catch these problems sooner rather than later so that we can get them on the right track.
Yeah, absolutely. When you were practicing, did you, and besides myofunctional therapists and pediatric dentists, would you also incorporate the orthodontist?
Oh my goodness, yes. And orthodontist, you know, kind of same as dental school. Not every orthodontist has joined our school of thinking, right? And that the earlier we treat, the better. The new quote out there is 6 by 6. So the earlier we can get these kids to the orthodontist, the better. We're talking early expansion. I've got 2 kids, a 7 and a 6-year-old, that are both in expanders, and it's amazing. They're both sleeping better. I can see spaces between their baby teeth where I didn't see it before. They can focus on a task better. So yeah, the orthodontist, a good orthodontist, is definitely part of this team.
No, that's great. It absolutely, I support a team approach for sure. So again, any other tips for helping parents out there, not just airway, but overall oral health? Anything else that we haven't mentioned previously that you can think of?
Oh gosh, you know, I would say just get back to the basics. Parents, you know, it's a stressful world raising kids, you know. It's not the same world that we grew up in, and I from the hundreds of parents that I saw just in the last couple years who brought their kids in, I think there's just a lot of pressure on parents. You know, we don't have to be perfect, but I tell my kids, we don't have to be perfect, but let's be good 80% of the time so that we can have fun the other 20% of the time. So snacks in the car or for every outing, like let's try to teach our kids to, you know, really enjoy their meals. Let's give our kids good, you know, fat and protein fueled meals, you know, like eggs in the morning and meat, so that they don't feel like they need to be constantly snacking, especially on snacks from a package or a box. Let's get back to real food. Like, let's teach our kids about real food, where it comes from. We're going to attempt a bigger garden this year with my kids, just showing them, you know, this is where food comes from. It comes from the ground. It doesn't come from a box. We love going to the farmers markets and picking out fresh food and talking about food. And of course, getting in the kitchen. I think that's probably my favorite tip is get in the kitchen. If I can learn how to cook, anybody can. If anybody can like put the takeout menus away, you know, I thought I would never learn and enjoy learning how to cook. So get your kids in the garden and in the kitchen and teach them about real food and real health.
I love that. Yeah, I need to take some of those tips as well. But I do love eggs.
Yeah, it's good. An egg a
Tell,
day will keep the dentist away.
absolutely, absolutely. And tell me, it's sad that you people are no longer able to receive your help through practice. But how are you impacting people and continue to get your message out there? And what are your future projects and plans?
Oh gosh, I have no idea what the future holds. I'm I'm so excited to just have more time to devote to my website and my blog, and of course Instagram, to teach parents all around the globe, hopefully, just about how to better their children's oral health. I've seen how devastating it is, and I will miss seeing my little patients in person. But I think I can help more people this way. And I'm really excited just to be educating from home and being with my kids more. So I'll still be active on my Instagram page. You can join my email list. You can check out my blog. I'm not going anywhere anytime soon.
Hey, that's so great to hear. And do you have any, besides the website, any other resources like a course or a book that you have, or is it the website still the best place to get your help?
You know, I do. I actually have a little ebook on my website, and it's really geared towards parents of children age 0 to 3. It's called Traditional Beginnings,
Okay.
and it's basically it's the book that I wish I had had as a new mom. My first two kids had lots of oral dysfunction and problems, but I had no idea that they did or why they did. And so I wrote a book about everything I wish I'd known, from breastfeeding to bottle feeding, pacifiers, to solid foods, baby-led weaning, oral hygiene in babies and toddlers. So you can check that out. It's called Traditional Beginnings.
Hey, that's so great. Well, Dr. Molly, we really appreciate your time today. Any
Thank
other?
you so
My
much.
pleasure. Anything else you wanted to touch upon, or did we cover everything that you were looking for?
You know, I think that if we wanted to touch upon everything, we'd be here for a very long time. I think this was wonderful. My DMs are open as much as I can. If anyone has questions, please reach out. But just do your best out there, parents. Like I said, you don't have to be perfect.
Now, you make a great point, and we're going to open it up to questions right now, too, briefly, if any of the audience members want to join in. And there is one question here. So both my kids are mouth breathing. They had tongue ties that had been resolved as newborns. What do I need to look for in a functional airway dentist that can help with this issue? Any regulating body for functional airway dentistry? What certification should I look for? Any feedback on
Okay.
that comment, question?
Oh, so what should we look for in a functional dentist? I mean, that's a great point, because not all functional dentists have, an airway passion. Um, I would say ask if they do provide appliances, if they do any kind of palatal expansion in younger kids. Like I said earlier, Healthy Start and MyoBrace are two of the removable, more like orthopedic appliances for the mouth to help with mouth breathing. You can ask them if they work with a myologist.
That's really good information. And also, you've been through some additional education programs. Are there what were the programs that maybe the dentist may advertise on their website that may be helpful to look for?
Sure. A lot of airway dentists have trained with the Breathe Institute out in California. They're a big training hub. And then the Healthy Start training is something that all Healthy Start providers have to go through. But the Breathe Institute is great. They're a great resource on Instagram and on their website.
Okay. A couple more questions here. Is it okay to start using toothpaste on an 8-month-old? She just got her first two teeth.
I personally do not use toothpaste on my babies. I tend to wait till closer to 2.
Okay.
Hydroxyapatite toothpaste is safe, thankfully, but we still just want the good habit of spitting out the toothpaste. And I just personally, I've never had even a 1 or 1.5 year old that was able to do that. So I tend to wait till about 2.
Got it. And another question: how much does the genetics play in cavities, and does a gluten-free diet help?
Oh goodness. Okay, so I don't know if I can answer the gluten-free confidently. I think genetics. I think we've overplayed genetics with cavities. To be honest, absolutely, genetics are very important, but genetics loads the gun, and then our environment pulls the trigger. So when people say, "Oh, my parents had bad teeth," or I was born with soft teeth. Like, I think that's just throwing in the towel too early. We can always get you back to health, even if your genetics aren't the best.
Now, you make a lot of good points there. Again, Molly, really appreciate you spending time with us here. Everybody, go
Well,
please check
thank
out
you,
her
Derek.
resources, her blog, and you can follow her on Instagram.
Thank
And
you so much.
you just wish you much future happiness and success.
Thank you so much, Dr. Derek. It was a pleasure.
All right, take care.